and Ken texted me and he was like, "Hey," I guess he was texting like my wife through our Instagram account. He was doing everything he could to get a hold of me. He was like, "Matt said he's good today. What time can you get off?" And I'm like, "This is like the one course in my career that like supposed to sit here and just have my phone away."
Yeah.
I went to sneak a little phone time on the toilet for a little while,
Jesus.
and I was like, "Well, best thing we got is probably like we've heard 3 o'clock." So I was like, 3:34, whatever. And then the teacher, who's a really good teacher, he just decides to like give us a rundown of his presentation, what we have to do for ours. And then this kid next to me, who has been a cool dude the entire time, just wants to be that motherfucker that asked well, what about this and what about that? And I was like, look, man, I don't know about you, but I got shit to do today.
He's like, "Oh, teacher, you forgot to assign the homework." And everyone's like, "Oh."
He almost did something like that, but he was just kind of like, he was asking a very basic Army leaders question that like the rest of us were like, nope, nope, you don't do that. That's not needed.
Yeah.
And he's continuing the conversation like he needs to know more about it. It's a basic like slideshow presentation of like whatever topic they gave you.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I just kind of looked at him and I was like, look, we gotta iron this out real quick. We can get out now, or we can get out in a half hour.
Yeah.
And you're like, which one? Like, pick one.
I've been awake. I've been getting up at 3:10 for the last like 4 mornings, and then I don't get home till like 5, which it's the way the Army's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But all these other guys are living on the base because they're from somewhere else, so they go and stay in the hotels, and then we form up and whatever at like 4:45. Well, they're all up at 4:35. Throw on their shorts and their T-shirt that we all wear, click their belt together, slide in their shoes, and walk downstairs. I've had coffee, let the dogs out, changed, packed my bags, driven the 35 minutes in at like 75 miles an hour.
Dude.
And it's just, then get there. But at least I have good grades so far. Everything seems like it'll go fine. I don't have to volunteer for too much. But Ken, the other thing, the baby's last ultrasound is next Friday.
Oh,
and
shit.
It's at 8 a.m. And the school is like, hey, if you miss, you can only miss up to 4 hours of class. But if you miss any time for like an appointment or such, you have to, sign what's called a counseling statement that just it puts on record that you understand you're missing time. Well, as soon as I do that, I cannot go for essentially the honor roll or the commandant's list, which means I can't get that towards promotion points.
Oh, it sucks.
So I was like, but hey, what can I do here? And they're like, well, you're going to be gone for longer than an hour, so you have to make the choice. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, good. I missed the first one for Army bullshit. Now I have to make the choice. I think I'm going to end up just dipping out for that like 2 hours in the morning. But it shouldn't even be 2 hours, honestly. But so I tell Ken. But, oh, hi, India.
Yeah, she's like trying to go outside. She's going to be sucking I'm going to kick her out. Watch this. It's going to be hilarious. Yep, there you go.
Look at
Bam.
This.
She got kicked
Matt,
out. You have a blanket
don't you
on.
Just,
you got your blanket on?
Yeah.
Don't you just appreciate a man that gets 8 hours of work in a day with his blanket on his lap?
Dude, watch this blanket and shorts. Just, this is my work
Oh my God.
uniform.
You can stand up. You look like a grandma that's like paraplegic.
It's funny because I got a standing desk and I don't even use the standing portion of it because fuck that, man. I stand up enough when I go work out. Like, fuck that noise.
Yeah.
All right. Woof.
Everybody, this is Matt Fraser. This has been a long time coming because the man has a big, busy fucking schedule.
Dude, trying to coordinate 3 schedules. It is it's a tough one. And then of course with the CrossFit season, we were on the road, I think just over 3 weeks straight with the semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up making it home for like 36 hours in between the 2 semifinals in Knoxville. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you're just on the road at all these competitions, bouncing around, and then it's like you're trying to handle your regular daily workload on top of it all, and it's a lot.
Dude, that's a lot at one time. Like, how is it after retirement? Like, what you said you retired, but I always told you this joke of you really didn't retire, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I retired from competing. I mean, I work way more now than I did, and I miss the days of simplicity. Like before, like my days were tough, but they were simple. Like I woke up and I knew exactly what to do, how to do it, and I would eat, sleep, train. That was it. And now it's just, there's a lot more moving parts. There's a lot of coordinating other schedules with other people, and there's always something to do, whether it's, business wise, or, the rare day that I have some time off from work. It's like, all right, but now let's get outside and do some yard work. So never a dull moment.
Because we were just talking about how we kind of overbook ourselves before we even started recording or streaming or anything. Is we always try to help. You try to be a giver, and you give so much that you look back at your schedule and you're like, a week is going by, and you're like, what the fuck have I been doing? Like,
Yeah.
I need to stop.
Ken, where is your mic?
It's right here. Is it too close?
No, it's not. You sound very faint to me.
Very faint? Do I sound better now?
I don't know. Whatever. I thought you had that big old boom mic.
I do, but I don't wanna lift it up and do all the plug-in stuff because I just downloaded all this live stream software. It's ridiculous.
Good Jesus. All right, Christ. So Matt, I think you'll appreciate this. Maybe I know Ken and I have heard all the podcasts you've ever been on. We saw the big mainstream ones. We do not want to talk about CrossFit. I want to talk to you about everything other than CrossFit.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
One of the things, unfortunately, that I really wanted to talk about, and I say unfortunately because right now is not the time for this, is stocks buying. You have out to fans and on your Instagram all the time of like what stocks you see, and I believe there's like an Instagram guy or somebody who you've talked to that's giving you good advice. If you don't mind telling us, or even if you do, just give us some hints. What are some of the things that you're starting to invest in now that you're quote unquote retired?
Yeah. So, I took over my portfolio probably about 4 years ago. And, I was lucky enough to have a friend that, this is what he does full time. He worked, he retired when he was about 45, I believe. And he literally just said like, hey, I'm too old to start something new. I'm too young to be fully retired. So he just went all in with his investing. And so he runs a page called the Investment Bodyguard. And so we met through O'Keefe, and so I had my money with another investor, and like every time I would talk to him, like I would see my account go up, down, just the regular volatility. And I would be asking questions, and especially when there's a downturn in the market, I'm looking at my account value of like, okay, did he make a bad investment? Did he make a risky investment that went sour? Is he getting commissions? Is he investing in things that he gets a commission on? Am I getting stolen from? I had no idea. When I would ask, I was hearing all these terms that I didn't know what they were. And so I just started learning about it, just books, YouTube videos, whatever I could, asking other people. And I remember finally telling O'Keefe, I was like, hey, do you have anyone I can talk to? Because I don't know what I don't know. And literally in the same week, my friend Ed asked O'Keefe, like, hey, do you have any athletes that want help with investing? He's like, I don't want to charge anything. He's like, I'm passionate about it. I'd love to help some people out. And so that's how we got linked up. And I had known him from before, but so now we stay in super close contact. And my investing strategy for years was super, super conservative. I'm like, I'm not trying to, 10x my money in the next 6 months. I'm not trying to double it every year. It's like, I just want that smooth, steady growth. Try to be as tax efficient as I can be. And so I would say 90% of the stuff, 90% of what I'm allocated in is like very, very steady blue chip, like not sexy stuff. And it's been in the last year that I started doing some more like risky stuff where like a lot of it's like, private funding, class A fundraising, all that type of stuff with like startups. And because I hit my number. I was like, okay, this is the number that I want to accomplish. I can sustain my style of living for the rest of my life. I think as long as I don't get into driving Ferraris around and shit. So once I hit the number I was comfortable with, I was like, okay, now I can start going into some of these riskier avenues. And they're all little allotments, getting into shit like crypto, startup companies, stuff like that. And so, I haven't contributed to my brokerage account in probably a year, but so, I haven't touched anything. Like all the stuff I'm in, it's kind of set it and forget it. Like I'll check on it in 10 years type thing. But yeah, I mean, I woke up the other morning and saw the market, and it was like, it wasn't like a downward slope. It was a step. And I text Ed, and I was like, yo, what the fuck happened? Like, dude, obviously something came out, and he was like, yeah, inflation rates got released and they're higher than expected. And I was like, really? Like, are people surprised?
Yeah,
like
the Fed did that. Like, I got an email from SoFi this morning about that, and it was like, oh, don't be alarmed. This thing's happened. The market doesn't like when things aren't predictable. And I'm like, if the Fed drops interest rates, I'm gonna make a lot of money. Basically, if they just drop the home interest rates.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was kind of like, oh, were people surprised that sending out money to every single person for an entire year, like, spiked inflation rates?
They're still doing.
Yeah.
Are they really?
People are still getting checks for families with certain income and certain amount of kids, I guess.
Yeah.
That's
I think
wild.
if you have more than 2 kids and you make under like 100K or 150K in a dual family income or a dual parent income.
That's what I got for my 2 kids, and I was like, why am I still getting checks for this? Why am I still getting paid for this? I don't think I should be getting money for these things.
Yeah, so I mean, my investments, like, my biggest allocations are, different versions of the S&P 500, Berkshire Hathaway, old reliable, steady growth, no dividends, just keep the money in the fund, keep it growing. I don't want to be paying taxes on this.
Did you say you're investing in, what is it, Berkshire?
Berkshire Hathaway. Mortgages.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, so Matt owns part of my apartment complex then.
A
teeny tiny percent, like 0.01%.
I mean, like, I've seen so many businesses called Berkshire, and so I mean, just a company that Warren Buffett's running it, and it's like right now it's kind of exciting with how much cash he's sitting on, and then just everything's discounted right now. I'm just ready for him to come in and just start buying up majority shares of companies, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be fun.
So do you going forward, now that you kind of see like where the market's going, are you going to try to dip your toe in buying for profit by any chance, or are you just going to kind of like let it simmer some more and then try to get in right before it starts trending up?
So I rarely trade stocks. Like, anytime it's with the intent of holding it for minimum 5 to 10 years. So I remember, like, at the beginning, what was it, like March of 2020, when the S&P dropped something crazy. It was like 30% in a week, and I just went like pushed in it, like,
buy a lot.
Most of the cash I had laying around, and like in my brokerage account, I try to leave enough dry powder so that if an opportunity presents itself, I can jump on it. And whether it's with stocks or like just around town here, like if a good investment opportunity comes up with real estate, I want to be able to put in an appealing offer where it's not contingent on getting financing. It's like I can put in a cash offer, and then most times closing is still 30, 45 days. I still have the opportunity to go out and try to get financing if I want to. But the offer is not contingent on it. So it's a little bit more appealing for a seller, hassle free. So, I try to leave a good chunk of dry powder on the sidelines. And then when an opportunity came up, like like March when people didn't
He
know
went
what was
all
happening.
in on AMC.
Yeah, no, I just saw, I was like S&P 500, like, and I just went boom. And then sure enough, within 2 months, it's back at its old all-time high. And then it just went on like this rally for the last 2 years. But at the same time, it doesn't really matter. Like for me, I'm not selling it. Like you only pay the taxes if you realize the gains. So it's like I just buy stuff that I'm okay sitting on for, 5 years minimum,
And
and just keep letting it grow.
that's really smart because like I don't know if you guys read the story about Delonte West. Someone just found him on the street 10 years and later after his basketball career, and he is now homeless. Like he
You didn't
goes,
know this? This has been going on
yeah,
for
yeah,
8 years now.
but it's
He
like,
was homeless. Then the Mavericks owner took him into his house like
yeah,
2 years
Yeah.
ago,
yeah,
gave him a
like,
life again, and then like let him be an assistant coach, and now he's homeless for a third time.
dude, he's
Have
just
Have you
not
guys
smart.
ever watched? Have you guys ever watched the 30 for 30 broke?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I have.
So through my whole competition career, I would watch that movie minimum once every 2 months, and
That's good.
it was just like I've said it through my whole career, even like before I started like getting sponsorships or any of these opportunities. I always said, I'm like, making money is easy. Like making anyone can go work 40 hours, 80 hours, like jobs are there. Keeping
Mm-hmm.
it is the hard part. Like whether it's to taxes, whether it's to responsibilities, whether it's to luxuries, it's like keeping it is the hard part. And so trying to find ways to be tax efficient, to even though you like your say your salary doubles, making sure that your lifestyle now doesn't double.
Yeah.
And so I would watch that 30 for 30 just to keep that fresh in my mind of like, you see some of these like superstars that made $200 million through their career and now they have nothing, and it's like, how? I can't even fathom it. And then it's like, oh, they're cutting off 37% for taxes. Now they have a PR agent, now they have a manager, and it's like 10% here,
Mm-hmm.
10% here. And then once you realize it, it's like, oh, you're keeping say 40 cents on the dollar of every dollar you bring in, but you're spending as if you're keeping 100% of it. That money can go
Yep.
super, super quickly. And so like super simple things like, like I drive a Honda Accord, 2015 Honda Accord. And I bought that. I was like, I don't care what car I drive. And I bought it in 2015. And then, a couple years later, it's like, yeah, I could be driving something else if I wanted to. But then I was like, well, I was doing backflips over this car 2 years ago. Why should I not be happy with it today? And it's just
Yeah.
trying to keep that same lifestyle, same expectations. And it's so easy. Like I
Do you still
remember,
have that truck, Fern?
no, oh, that's a
Oh, you
sore,
got rid of her?
Why
it's
do
a
you-
sore spot, dude. I kicked myself in the ass for it. It was when we moved. It was when we moved from Tennessee back up to Vermont. And so like at that time, like I never had I only had one day off per week. And that day off, I sat on the couch. I didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had another, like a new pickup at the time, and the Honda. And so when we moved, Sammy drove the Honda. I drove my newer pickup truck up to Vermont, and I had to leave the old truck there. And then I had to do a trip back for some other stuff, and I was going to drive it back. And I was just like, there's no way I'm driving that fucking thing 18 hours, because it tops out at 65. You can't hear the radio when you're on the highway. It is so loud. And I made the mistake of doing a full restoration on it. So like it was immaculate, brand new paint job, brand new frame coat, everything. So then every time I drove it and I would hear a stone hit, I'm like, like shit. And then it was perfect timing. I was going to be back in Tennessee in like 3 or 4 days. Some dude that I chat with on Instagram hit me up, and he was trying to buy one, and he sent me the listing to the one that he had, or that he was looking at. And he was like, hey, like, what's your thought on this? I feel like this price is a little bit too high. And I was like, yeah, it seems a little steep. And he was like, yeah, I wish there were more options. And I was like, I got one.
I got this truck.
And he was like, you're shitting me. I was like, meet me in Cookeville on Tuesday with cash and it's yours. And he was like, you're kidding. And so it was literally like, if it wasn't that perfect situation, I wouldn't have sold it. And I wish I didn't sell it because I missed that fucking truck.
I'm thinking about selling a motorcycle and getting a new one. I'm like, man, I want this Ducati, but it's like 12 grand. And the bike that I have is a 2008 Honda CBR, and it rides fine, but I just want something new and fancy. I probably need to get out of that thought process too.
Dude, like I have an Indian that I have a relationship with Indian. They just were like, here's a motorcycle, just ride it and post pictures whenever you feel like it. And so that thing is awesome. The bike I own personally is a 2005 Honda. And I'm like, when I bought this thing 8 years ago, it was awesome. I was psyched about it. I'm still psyched about it. Like, and I had to get it insured. And like, I looked up the Kelly Blue Book value. It's like a $3,000 motorcycle. It's like, yeah, of course I can walk into any dealership and buy a new motorcycle. But I'm like, nah, I don't care. Like,
no,
making money is easy. Keeping it's the hard part. And you can plow through money so quickly once you start buying luxuries.
I think so far, Jess and I, we talked recently, and I think maybe once the baby's born, maybe like 3 to 5 years from now, we'll look at getting another car before we move. But as of right now, like we went through that last year where we now have 2 cars that we absolutely love. Granted, they're both like within a year, 2 years old. So as of right now, I'm still perfectly happy with them. But who knows, in 5 years, all the cars could be self-driving. They could be doing all the extra shit. And then,
I mean, it's so easy. Know. I have friends that they live for their cars. Like that's their thing. And it's very easy. You spend time around 4 people that like cars, you'll become the 5th. and like, I'm hanging out with my buddy and he's showing me, what was it? He bought a couple of weeks ago. He bought 2 Audi R8s and
Audi is a shit car. Don't ever buy an Audi. Oh my God.
Dude, these fuck, dude. So he bought the R8 with I think it's a V10, and then he twin turboed it, so it's at 1400 horsepower. And like, you spend time around that, and you're like, I could swing one of these. Like, and
what is the point of that though? What is the point of 1400 horsepower? What can you can't do anything with that.
Yeah, you can't go really fast.
Yeah, but not legally. Like, you're gonna go on the highway and put it to 100, and then 5 seconds later, you got to slam the brakes so you don't hit traffic.
I actually had a deal for a truck, and it was a short bed, regular cab, all-wheel drive Chevy, and it was 1,000 horsepower at the wheels. And I had, like, it was negotiated. I was just waiting on the guy to line up delivery. Like, he was in Arizona, he was going to ship it up to me, and he had to leave town for 2 weeks, and his little cousin was like driving it while he was gone, blew the head gasket, didn't know how to read the gauges or anything, overheated the engine and warped the heads, and so it just pooched. And so I get a call like, hey, you know that truck that you've been drooling over for the last like 2 months? Yeah, it's a paperweight now.
What was that, a C10 or something?
No, it was Silverado.
Oh wow.
I do have a funny question, but I know you programmed the Madrid CrossFit challenge, or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you do that? Because I got a friend, Jalen. I think he's listening now. He did the first one was the 10 rounds of the 5 bar facing burp. Oh no, 5 front squats and 10 bar facing burpees. Like, dude, that was horrible.
Yeah, it was rough. So with programming competitions like that, like, basically what we start with and what we end with are 2 completely different things. Like, they say like, hey, we want, say competitions, hey, we want 6 events over 3 days. We want 7 scores, and this is what we're looking for. Like we'll try to, make events that complement each other, so it's a well-rounded test and all this stuff. And then there's so much that goes into it, depending on the competition venue, the layout, the level of athletes, how many athletes. Is it just individual male, female, or are there teams? Now are there age groups and different divisions, all these different things. And then another thing on top of everything is if that competition has sponsorships with different equipment brands. So the Madrid, the online portion, they were sponsored by, I forget what, but that was not the original workout. The original workout was supposed to be, I think it was rowing and bench press. So like a 250-meter row, 5 bench press, 10 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, okay, this is an online. We don't want to do bench press because then, it's, you want to make sure that everyone has a spotter. So in an in-person competition, that's easier to do. Your referee is your spotter.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, we can't do bench press. Let's sub it for front squats. And then they didn't want, they were sponsored by a different brand. So they couldn't have a rower in the qualifier. And so then it's like, shit. All right. Like burpees, And so what we wanted to start with was rowing and bench press. And what we ended with is burpees and front squats. So, I mean, there's just so many moving parts, and like the back and forth for programming a competition there's a lot. And then they change like, hey, individual event 2 is no longer on the main stage. It's over here. So now we don't have that implement of rings and ropes or whatever it is, So there's a lot of moving parts, but it's a lot of fun, like testing workouts, and then, just making sure that it's a well-rounded competition with different time domains. And so it doesn't play to like a certain body type or a certain body weight or a certain skill asset for an athlete, but yeah, like I did that burpee front squat workout. It was brutal.
Yeah. I tried it and it didn't work out so well. But go ahead, Steve.
I can't imagine it worked out well for anybody who did that.
I remember
Bronislavski
was he was DMing me after, and he was like, "What the fuck, man?" I was like, "Dude, I'm sorry. Like, I wanted the workout to be a little bit different, but they didn't want concept 2 rowers in the qualifier."
And how different is it going from? Because I remember when you said you were before your last essential. It's like right post the games, 2021 games, 2021 games, I think. Yeah. You said that, I'm probably not going to ever coach. And you switched and you were like, now you're a coach. How is that how is that vastly different than you being a competitor?
I swore for years that I would never coach. And then Jason Hopper was the one that broke that barrier. And it wasn't very willingly. He just like kept hounding me. I met him at West Coast Classic, hung out with him, had a great time. And then he was like, "Hey, I want you to coach me." And I told him, I was like, "Nah, I can't do it, man. I'm sorry. Like, I don't have the time. It wouldn't be fair to you, wouldn't be fair to me. Like, I just have too many other responsibilities in my day." And he basically was just like not accepting the answer. And so I think, trying to think of like the timeline there. Like, I think I may have sent him some programming, just like, here's kind of like the format that you should be doing. Excuse me. And then it was after the games, I think he was obviously very disappointed with how he did. And I'm watching him on the field of just like, doesn't really have the right guidance. He was just going out hot on every workout and then kind of falling apart. So after the games, that's when he really laid it on, was like, "You're coaching me." And I was like, "Fuck. All right." So
sounds like you were giving him like 40% of coaching, and he was like, "Hey man, just give me the rest of it. Stop holding back.
Come on."
And so that it actually started. I was like, okay. I was like, let me talk to the team and figure this out. And And so Jake and I work together on that. Jake takes the reins with Jay primarily. You know, he'll write up the training. I'll kind of look it over, and then like after semifinals, Jake and I will sit down and be like, all right, what does Jay need to work on in the next 6 weeks or 8 weeks leading up to the games? And then kind of putting the tack plan together. But Jake's the one that has the most communications with Jay. But yeah, I mean, coaching, it's fun. I mean, it's fun when you have the right people. You know, when the personalities click, when you have an athlete that's hungry for it, they're hungry for the training, they're hungry for the experience, all this stuff. You know, that makes life a lot easier. But the worst thing that, you know, I could imagine as a coach is having to like bribe an athlete of like, please, like one more piece and then you get to go home. Like, well, no, that's not great. But yeah, I think, you know, I think I have great experience with it in terms of, you know, from the aspect of, all right, this is what, you know, you can likely expect to see at competition. This is how to deal with things mentally. And then, you know, just coming from the weightlifting background, you know, for programming that stuff, you can kind of, you're just playing a game of Tetris of trying to fit in all the different pieces that you need in the day and then make sure that you're not compounded, like doing too many pulling movements or too many pushing movements or whatever it is. Really staying in close contact and making sure the athlete's comfortable enough telling you like, hey, I'm fucking tired. Like, you know, and being able to decipher like, okay, are you staying up late or is your CNS roasted? You know, simple stuff like that. But, and then, you know, finding out, you know, the athlete's specific strengths and weaknesses and how to go about training for those. And then also finding out the athlete's like specific motivators, because not every athlete gives a shit about the same things, you know. You know, it's a real conversation of like, hey, do you want to be the most liked person in the sport? Do you want to be the most decorated person in the sport? Do you want results right now, or do you want results for longevity? Or are you here to make as much fucking money as possible? And tell me, like, we'll put an attack plan together to make that happen, you know? So yeah, it's been fun. And, you know, especially after semifinals, you know, getting a lot more reach out for more athletes wanting to, you know, come along. And so it's like, all right, let's put in a plan together and figure out how to make this possible.
Because Jason is a big boy. He's like my size. And I look at some of the things he does and I go, man, how the fuck does this kid that's 10, 15 pounds, I'm 230, move that
225.
way? Yeah, how does he move?
6'2", 225. He has the wingspan just crazy. And so like for him, I'm like, all right, the training I used to do is not appropriate. Like that's not what fits you. And you know, there were simple things like he used to always say, you know, like, oh yeah, you know, like burpee workout would come up. He's like, you know, my burpees aren't bad for a big boy. And we're like, I don't care that you're a big boy. Like, I don't want your burpees good for a big guy. I want your burpees good, period.
Just good.
And I mean, the transformation that he's put himself through in the last probably 6 months, it's astonishing. You know, it's just hammering those body weight movements so that he's not running at this crazy disadvantage because he's, you know, 30 pounds heavier than everyone else and a head taller. But then on top of that too, like, dude, at his semifinals, he wasn't like the tall guy. It's crazy. Like, I went to 3 semifinals in a row and I'm like, when the fuck did everyone get over 6 feet tall? Like, it used to be like Fikowski stuck out like a sore thumb in the corrals. And now it's like everyone, like, you know, I'm in the warm-up area just kind of shooting the breeze with these guys in the back. And I'm just like craning up the entire time. I'm like, what the hell happened here?
Well, as soon as the guy that dominated the sport decided to leave, everybody else was like, well, I guess it is my turn.
Now I got a shot. Now I got a fucking shot at this now. Shit.
Yeah, except Madero stepped in and he's like 5'7", 195.
Jesus.
Dude, that's
coached by the guy that just retired.
Yeah, like, I can't even imagine being I don't know. I looked at Granite Games and what he programmed, and I looked at that like Minnesota mashup, and I was like, I would die out there. Like I would die.
Which one was the Minnesota
It was
mashup?
the ring muscle ups and
Oh,
the
and wall balls
GHD
and
and wall
GHD.
balls.
Yeah.
Like the wall balls GHD, I'm fine, but it's like overhead squat a dumbbell by itself. No, like nope, nah.
I mean that's just body positioning. Like that's just getting everything stacked in, getting that arm pulled in nice and tight, and then you can let everything relax. The bones are all stacked up in the right spot.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's got fucking 6'5" across, and I'm 5'11".
Yeah.
Just not no.
Ken, you were definitely 6 foot. I don't even want to fucking hear
I
it.
am not. I put so when I met Tam, like his Tinder profile, I put on there I was 6'1". She saw me and she was like, "You don't like your 6'1". I'm like, "I'm 5'11". It was just a bait. I got you.
She's also no offense, she's Asian, so she's probably sitting somewhere around 5'2", and she's used to guys being 5'5".
She's actually
Dude.
tall. She's 5'6".
Dude, everyone sees pictures. Like when I meet people, they're like, "Wow, I thought you were taller." You know, it's the most common thing I hear. I'm like, "Yeah, well, my wife is 4'11", so in pictures, I look proportional. I look like I'm probably 6 foot or so. And it's not just Sammy's tiny. I'm 5'6".
I love that picture that you posted I want to say it was a couple of years ago. It was like you and a couple of your buddies went shooting with Sammy, and one dude's like 6'5", 6'6". Then there's you, then there's Sammy next to a car.
So we shot up my car that day. So the guy standing next to Sammy is 6'11".
Oh shit!
And Sammy's eyes are literally like at his waistline, and like one of my buddies from the gym actually snapped a picture. He was kneeling. He was like tying a shoe, kneeling, and then I came up and started talking to him, and he's kneeling but upright, and he was like a 1/4 inch taller than me on a knee.
Holy
and I was
crap.
like, and my buddy like took a Snapchat picture and sent it to everyone and their mother. And I was like, thanks, dude.
We have a guy like that currently at the training I'm at, and he's from Carson, Ken. He was there. Well, you don't know him, but he was from there. But I think like 6'8", 6'9", and they made him the guidon bearer for the whole class.
Oh,
so he just sticks out like a fucking sore thumb. But we did a run the other day for the Army's birthday. And you know, like when you run by another command, you put the flag up and whatnot, and you try to like be all. Our flag was as tall as it is. It's probably somewhere around like 8. Well, maybe not 8 feet tall. Probably like 7 feet tall, from like the bottom to the tip of the spear. The way he's able to put it up was like stacking it on top of like the junior soldiers that aren't even soldiers yet. Like if you just put them on top of each other. So that was a very interesting morning. We definitely knew exactly where the front of the pack was.
Yeah.
That was probably that's the only physical thing I think we have to do now. So I'm glad they didn't do a PT test with all the new standards now. But I hear happy day, the Senate is asking for the Army to change the PT test again.
Because it's sad. It's unfortunate. Because some females couldn't do one leg tuck. Just grab the bar, pull your knee to your elbow, you've passed. People couldn't do this, so they changed it to a 1 minute and 30-second plank.
What? So that's the minimum.
Do you want soldiers that can't?
All right, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Let's
see what Matt has to say about this. So, Matt, being the fittest man in history, let's see what your thoughts are on. And it's not just female soldiers. Let's exclude all of that,
bro.
There are male soldiers.
Only if you knew how out of shape the Army was, you would.
It's unfortunate. It's not that the military is necessarily out of shape. A lot of them are broken. And it's broken because of either overtraining, poor training, or like missing the stimulus constantly.
Yeah.
Which you can imagine we're supposed to push the limits of like carrying weight and musculoskeletal injuries kind of being on that border. Unfortunately, between leadership and people who aren't necessarily trained, which actually I don't want to say congrats. I would say applaud to CrossFit for making that partnership with the Army. So now
the free
Army
level
soldiers,
1s, level 2s.
Yes. Army soldiers can go out and get their level 1 and their level 2.
Oh, really?
For free. And they can use Army's Ignite Ed website so they can do it remotely as well. So soldiers overseas and various locations can. So hopefully we can diminish this number a little bit. But for the most part, I would say it's probably from like NCOs who they don't know what the physicality of things, how it works.
And
right?
if you don't know, man, like you have a squad, you have a platoon, right? 40 guys, 40 gals, whatever the mix is. You have 4 squads. There's a squad leader in charge of that squad, and there's team leaders in charge of like 4 to 6 soldiers in that squad itself. And those are the people that run your PT program. Those are the guys and gals that are supposed to make the program for you and make your soldiers fit. And the bad part about it is there's no education. Like the education sucks.
No.
They don't know.
Then there's oversight and there's micromanaging. So things like if you wanted to program for me, like, hey, you're going to do running intervals. Well, cool. My squad leader, my boss is going to say, hey, actually, I wanted to take this whole group on a distance run. And then his boss comes over and is like, actually, guys, we got a brigade run. So now it's going to be long distance, slow speed, everybody jammed up to each other. But back to the PT test, they want to change the standards possibly again. There's no standard in place to replace it yet. They haven't talked about that part, but they just want to. They looked at when they first came out with it. There's the deadlift, the medicine ball throw over the head. What is it? The sprint drag carry, which is kind of like sprinting, body weight, dragging a sled, doing a side shuffle, carrying some kettlebells and a farmer's carry for like 50 to 100 meters, and then another sprint. After that, there's
the hand release push-up.
Hand release push-ups. It used to be the leg tuck. Now it's the plank, which the plank maximum is 330. It's not undoable, right? Nobody's.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing like the whole new test came out, and like what was it, like the top score for the deadlift was like 315 for a triple,
340, 340 easy.
It's 340 on a hex bar. They went with a hex bar because it simulates picking up, I believe, ammunition and things on the side of you, and just being able to do that. And then the 2 mile run, I've always thought in every PT test should be a one mile sprint. Never at any time.
What's the time cap on the 2 mile?
21 minutes.
That's your pass fail point. Yeah.
Your best score to get like the top, like the 100 is, I believe, 12:30. So there's very now it shifts in varies with age, right? But our old PT test, the best or the top score for running was a 13-minute 2 mile. And then anything past that, you get extended scale, but that's not the case anymore. I just believe all the load bearing that you put through your legs and all the output, putting a 1 mile sprint is better than a 2 mile essential sprint. Like you're going about 80-90%.
Yeah. I remember seeing the test when they came out, and I was like, okay, like you have to be
mildly fit to pass.
Prepared, like if you're picking up 340 for a deadlift, it's like, okay, you know what you're doing enough. And then I think it was like, what was it, 70 hand release push-ups in 2 minutes?
That's like the max.
Was the top score.
Now it's a T push-up, so it's not just like lifting your hands off. You have to go out and then come back in inside the chest.
Yeah, like I remember seeing it and just seeing, like, I think the push-ups were the only thing that I was like, maybe I wouldn't get a perfect score in the push-ups. I don't know.
You for sure could max the push-ups. You can definitely do it. I think on average I hit somewhere between 55 to 63. Okay. So
I'll give it a try here in the next couple of days. I've done like sets of 40 push-ups, but I've never like put a clock on it to see like, was that 40 seconds or 2.5 minutes,
Well, if you do end up doing it, send us a video. But also your feet have to be either together or a boots width apart.
Okay.
We do it by the grader. So like my boot size, if Ken comes up and I have a huge ass foot, Ken's lucky. He can put his feet as far as my foot.
Yeah.
If you come up and you got like a Sammy sitting there.
Yeah. Size 5.5 shoe. Yeah.
Good luck.
So what's the justification for different standards when it comes to age?
So the Army, first of all, the Army came out and the plank is replacing, and was always from the beginning, it was the like the backdrop to the leg tuck. Like if females
Yeah.
or males could not grab a bar, right, and if you're hanging onto a pull bar, normally like horizontal or like
Yeah. You go
but
sideways.
now you
Yeah.
go sideways, right, and you just have to lift your knees to your elbows,
Yeah.
right, and your elbow has to hit somewhere from your knee to the top of your quad,
Yep.
right.
Yep.
So there's a lot of room there for interpretation,
A lot
and
of wiggle room.
you just can't kip. But anybody who's done a toe to bar understands that, like, even when you get tired, if you just drop your legs and then try to like widen your hips to bring your feet up real quick,
Yep.
it's doable in various ways, and you don't need to kip. You just kind of need that like upper back muscle that just like allows you to like kind of and haw to make it happen for the last few reps. So I believe it was 40% of females were not or were passing this test because they would fail that event. And if you do the leg tuck and you make an attempt, if you don't make the attempt, like no rep, and you can't do another one, you fail the event. So most of them would then go over to the plank and hold a plank, but the plank standard was 4 minutes and 10 seconds for 100. And I think it was like 2 minutes and something for like the minimum of 60.
Yeah.
But then if they don't do well enough in the other events, now you failed regardless.
Huh.
So you had about a 40% pass rate out of women, and I believe it was only a 5% fail rate out of men. So the Army was like, oh, this doesn't look good. We're getting a lot of slack. We're hearing that like people don't like this.
And then people started screaming the whole like this is an equal thing, da da da. But you still want females on the other side that are going infantry that can do these things, and they're like, need to keep the standard. And the other ones are like, nope, I'm HR. I don't want to be an infantry woman, infantry person. I don't want to do that. So now they're sitting there like, well, what do we do?
I'm trying to put myself in a position where if this could lead to a life and death situation.
Yeah.
Of like, are you prepared to go to battle? And this is the beginning stage. If I'm showing up and they're like, hey, this is a test to make sure that you're ready because you're about to go into a fight for your life. If I'm not passing the test early on, I'm probably looking at it like, I don't know if I want to like get past forward because then I'm not going to be ready. I'm not going to like.
One of the big things I think like my job as a sergeant or like on the enlisted side, our job is to train the soldiers. Ken's job is like when he was a captain is to lead everybody, right?
Yeah.
Now he'll give out to like my section or like my rank, like, hey, I need this training executed. He doesn't have to he can be like, this is the intent. This is where like I want our end state to be. You figure it the fuck out.
There's a lot of room to just be creative.
Don't be immoral. Don't do anything unethical, or don't be doing anything illegal. So the thing that I think a lot of my kind, the NCOs, the guys who are really hands-on, leading the PT, coming up with the schedules, we kind of felt like we took the standard that was a line in the sand and we just washed it away. The Army washed it away, and then they drew a new line. And they said, this is our new standard. And we're like, wait, hang on. You had a standard set that you had all of this information on why it was there. And because a percentage of people that you guys thought was a little high and we got some flack for it, you then erased it and drew a new one down here.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. But then you look at the Marines, the Navy, not so much, and the Air Force, not so much. The Navy and Air Force are very lenient with their PT tests. But the Marines, all the females have to do what the males can do.
Yeah.
And they struggle through it. They get their injuries. They get their discharges for medical reasons. But the Marines will not flex from that shit. But they also have the Marine Combat Fitness Test, which I think personally is the only one that legitimately says this is like specified for we need to know if you can fight.
Yeah.
Army's one, we do it for promotion, we do it for schools, we do it for promotion points, we do it to figure out if you're somebody who's like going to stay in the Army or not.
Yeah.
The Marines have one that is basically that. I believe it's 3 mile run,
Yes,
push-ups,
3-3-3.
pull-ups, sit-ups.
Yeah.
Right. We are the only ones, I think. The Marine or the Navy and the Air Force, they have one that's lenient. They need a lot of people. We have one that's just kind of like for the job, not for the profession
itself.
At the end of the day, we are all warfighters. So Ken made the idea or the statement that like, hey, I want to be HR. I don't really plan on shooting anybody.
Yeah.
I didn't join for that either. I joined to be an EOD tech. I don't want to reference this. My buddy will hate me for it, but like the Hurt Locker, right? If you're not familiar.
Yeah.
Now he made it through that school. I did not, so he gets to make whatever jokes he wants. But I didn't make
hard.
it to school. I ended up at the needs of the Army. When you fail that school, they just throw you another job, but you just get what they give you.
Yeah.
So I ended up in public health, but my job has, on average, when they first came out with scores, it was based on your job, right? It had nothing to do with gender, nothing to do with age, just your job.
It was gender neutral as fuck, which is fine because that's what everyone.
I thought that was fine, but I also said they had some inconsistencies where, like, I could go do my sport, which do CrossFit, compete in the open, train hard, have a good work ethic. I was placing in the like 98th percentile of the Army.
Yeah.
People were like, hey, he's getting a promotion. He's getting fast tracked. He's getting more opportunities. His score's better, but we do the same job. That's not fair. The three of us put it together like, hey, hard work pays off. Don't be fucking bitching and moaning because you want to go home and watch fucking New Girl and not do the workouts.
But that's the thing. Like, I have guys that I program for. Mendiola, one of them, I was talking to him at the gym yesterday. He was like, yeah, I got a 588 out of 600 on the new PT test. And he was like, thank you, because it was because of CrossFit. You know, you're making me do all these constantly varied movements across different time domains, basically, and I'm getting fitter. He's like, I'm fitter than the people that are in charge of me. And I look at him and I go, why is that? And he goes, well, I'm doing shit outside of my PT hour, because PT is meant to just sustain you. It's not meant to make you better. If you have a good leader,
that is slowly changing. By the way,
if you have a good, I'm out of practice with the Army, but like if you really want to do something, you'll spend your off time getting better at it. And that's kind of the mentality we all have with CrossFit. Like, you look at, if we take any woman that did the quarterfinals or semifinals, they would get into the Army's PT test as it is now with the leg tucks. They would do fine. They would pass. No issue.
They would probably. So the new test is based off of it used to be a 300 PT score from the old PT test because it was 300 grade scale. Now it's 6 events, which is 600 grade scale. There's a guy in my class at ALC currently, Ken, that has a 599.
Jesus.
Yeah. He missed the 100 on the run by 4 seconds.
Jesus Christ. So
that hurts.
Like my best score is 577. I just don't. I don't run the 2 miles super well, but we looked at it, and a lot of people, I think, were just kind of confused as to, like, these are our fighting forces. Why are we constantly changing? Like, PT, the idea of challenging somebody physically, like for physical fitness, this is not like 3rd grade where you need to make me do all this shit in gym class to prove to you that I'm not a lazy fat kid. Like, we're grown fucking adults, set a standard. And then when the people who, no offense, I don't mean to quote Jack Nicholson, but do not question the people that you ask to stand on the wall and protect you for how they do it.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and be like, hey, it's not fair to women, this, that, and another thing. If you're signing up to an all-volunteer force, in my opinion, and you want to come in to change the culture in a good way, that's fine. But if you want to come in to change standards to practically lower them, to make it easier for people to get in, that is not the profession. That is not the line of work that we are in. Nobody gets to go into CrossFit and then complain like, hey, the games are a little too hard for everybody. I think we need to knock it down a notch and let some more people in, huh?
But that's the whole thing. But that's the thing with, like, the new way that CrossFit's going about all the semifinals and everything. I don't know how the background works because none of us really know the background of how everything works. I see all the semifinals and I see all the movements and I go, well, Granite Games was by far harder than the MAC. Like, that's That's my opinion. I didn't
He
do
took a
them.
breath.
He took a breath. Go ahead, Matt. Tell me your opinion.
No, I mean, I've never run a competition. But like O'Keefe and I are incredibly close, and like O'Keefe ran a bunch of competitions, and it's I appreciate I can see both sides. There's some people that get granted a competition, and they program what they want, like it's their competition, and I remember seeing one of the competitions, some competitors like, yo, there's four of the 6 workouts are a 10-minute time domain. Like, how is this
Yeah.
constantly varied? And then, but then at the same time, like, yeah, there's going to be competitions that, there's bias of, if somebody like I'm sure there's people that watch Granite Games that they're like, oh, the programming was terrible. Most people are looking at it like, yeah, Granite Games was awesome.
It was awesome.
And then
it was one of those. It's like in the NFL when you have like the 2 good offenses going against both shitty defenses. It was
yeah,
just like knockout punch after knockout punch coming.
Yeah.
yeah, So I mean, I've seen what goes in, and I've seen the public facing side of a competition while I knew what was going on in the background. And it's day and night difference. Like, it goes from the person running the event looking like a total asshole, and then you find out the real reason of what happened, and you're like, oh, you handled that beautifully.
Yeah.
So like at Wadapalooza, like there was one, it was like one evening, I think there was supposed to be a swim workout for whatever division, and all the night events got canceled, and everyone's like, oh, this event is so poorly run, you guys are unorganized, you're so far behind schedule, how is this fair? We showed up to do this event and we're just told the event's not happening. Like, and yeah, like if that's all the information you provided, that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And it does look like it's being run very poorly. What had happened was whatever division was going previously, they all went. And I want to say it was teams. And, just for sake of numbers, they had 120 athletes dive into the water, and they had 119 come out. And so then they go, oh shit, where's number 120?
Oh, fuck.
And so they shut down everything. They send out all the medics, scuba divers, everything for the rest of the night. And they're searching for hours looking for this lost swimmer.
Oh no.
Jesus.
What had happened was
What
a competitor.
happened
was a competitor dove in, panicked, got embarrassed, got out, was so embarrassed, didn't tell anyone on their team, didn't tell any officials, ran away, sat in the stands for the rest of the night.
No fucking way.
So the people running the competition think that
fuck.
They're like, this is the worst possible thing that could ever happen. And like, if you've been to Wasit, you see how many lifeguards they have out there.
Yeah, a lot.
You're never more than 10 feet away from somebody on a jet ski, paddleboard. You don't realize that there's scuba divers underneath the water the whole time. Like, they take every precaution, and they're like, we lost somebody. And so now everyone's up in arms. They're upset, all this stuff. And it was because one person got embarrassed, climbed out of the water, didn't tell any officials, didn't tell their teammates, didn't tell anyone, and just sat in the stands for the rest of the night.
Dude, that's terrible.
So
fuck that.
So when it comes to running events, and like, there's certain things that, yeah, once you have experience running an event, you have a better idea of how to set up the competition floor so it runs smoothly. You have a better idea of what equipment works well, what movements, that, like, I saw some things that where the competitions were allowing for opinion to be involved in the competition. Like, I'm like, it's kind of like in the open of, why would you do box jumps?
Yeah.
Do box jump overs. Because then there's no opinion on, were they standing tall? Were their hips open all the way? It's like, no, did you get from one side of the box to the other? Cool. Like, check, done.
Yeah.
And so, I saw some events where it's like, there was some opinion involved, and some athletes are getting away with what they were told not to do, and others are intentionally slowing down to keep the standard. And,
that's where
is there ever going to be a competition that is run flawlessly perfectly? Fuck no.
That's why
Like
I
there's
kind of
too
like
many moving parts.
that we were doing quarterfinals and the shuttle sprint workout, and I saw all these times. I saw one female's time that was 6:24, and I was like,
Yeah.
that is my Karen time with a 30-pound wall ball. Like, there's no fucking way you did
Yeah.
all those shuttle sprints, rope climbs, and fucking Karen in
Why
6
the fuck
minutes.
you lie?
Like, why are you lying? And then I'll give Justin, I mean not Justin, but Andrew Hiller's props. He like pulled it out and went, hey, what are you doing? Like, you didn't do that, right? You did one shuttle sprint and you thought it was one that was down and back, and it was written in the standards.
Dude, so before the open and quarterfinals, I think I just tossed all the packets I had, but I print off the full stack of sheets of workout flow, movement standards, floor layout, and then the score sheet, and I treat it just like I'm studying
Yeah.
for a test.
Is that high school looking notebook that you carry around at competitions? It's like from the Waterboy. It's like
Oh my god. Jesus.
Grandma, I hate him. I hate him. I hate him. And so anyways, like before those online competitions, I print those off and I go through, I'm putting in notes, I'm highlighting things that, you know, that maybe the standard is a little bit, there's a new standard, standards important, like it can play a role. And I go through, I do all that stuff. I'm in the gym the night before doing all the taping and setting up all the measurements, all that stuff. And then I'm giving it to my athletes of like, here you go, read it. And I'm like, it's already highlighted. You like, it's
just read the highlighted
easy.
parts.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm like, and then like full walkthrough, because stuff like that, like the shuttle run, as soon as I see that event, the first question I have is one length down the shuttle, or is it down and back? And so then I go seeking for the answer. I'm not going to assume that, oh, I'm going to take the easy route and then hope that I don't get penalized. Like, fuck no, I want concrete answers because I'm hoping for the best, planning for the worst.
but Matt, people, oh my god, people were doing it wrong I know people that did it wrong on purpose, and they went, oh, the 3-minute penalty they give me is better, will give me a better score than doing it all the way through and having a shittier score. And
yeah, I mean,
that's just integrity.
I mean, there's always going to be people that try to find ways to, you know, I don't want to say cheat the standard, because like if you're not breaking a rule, you're not cheating, but they're trying to skirt that line of like get right up to it. Maybe they're trying to find loopholes or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, that's part of the game. But like at a certain point, do you want to be going to the games off fake scores? Like, what's the point? Like, and then you're just like, you're in the far left lane. You're in the far left lane of heat 1 for every event. You're the last one. Like, I don't understand the appeal of moving on to the next stage without doing.
I mean, unless they're just trying to like chase the noble goodie bag now at this point.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I was there that one.
I mean, that's a lot of fucking work to get a bag of clothes. I'll tell you, dude. I have a shipping container that I use for storage, and the back wall it has to be no less than 15 duffel bags of just old games gear. And it's like, as soon as I leave the games, because in the first couple of years, it's a big deal. You're like, I get all these jerseys, my name's on it, my number, like all this stuff. Dude, my last couple of years, I'm like, dude, if the maids in the hotel have anyone around them that is a size 9.5 shoe, they're walking home with like a dozen pairs. And it was just like, I finally was.
If you ever plan on cleaning that motherfucker out, Matt,
I'm gonna need for you to like magically grow out your like you grow your foot and make those shoes magically into a 13 to a 12.5 and send them to me.
You get enough shit, Ken. This one's on me. If you ever need to clear any of that out, send me something. I would take any of that.
Noted.
Also, no, I saw a video talking about like having a shipping container for all your stuff. I know Rich had a video. He had all of his games gear that he had ever gotten in his basement closet just thrown on the floor. It's a pot. It looks like somebody who's what what do they call them? The people that
like a
hoarders?
hoarder.
it's literally just piled high, and it's just lifters, bags, jerseys, trophies thrown in there. And I was like,
That's
that
like
is so much shit.
the back wall of my shipping container. I think there's 4 tiers of shelving,
Good
and
Jesus.
they're 8 feet across and 3 feet deep.
He's giving us the
And
Jesus Christ.
I mean, but it's just like they're huge shelves,
Mhm.
and the whole top one straight across is 12 to 15 duffel bags, and then like the next one across is just like trophies and shit, and then like on the bottom it's like all the name mats, name cards, the big checks, and it's like,
Jesus.
Oh, he's got the big
checks.
yeah, you don't get rid of those.
Walks in, he's like, "Hey, bank, I gotta deposit this big check," and they're like, "Get the fuck out of here."
What,
But at the same time,
what
it's
do
like,
you do with that though?
that's the thing. Like you
But,
feel terrible throwing
I'm
it away.
Asking, like, when the games hand you that big check, right? Other than like, do you just take that home and they hand you like a normal size check? I'm genuinely asking.
Yeah, Steve.
Oh, they. Yeah.
I don't know if they wire you the money or if it's like you now have to like go take.
Yeah,
a
no, you
paper to
get the
verify.
option. Yeah, when I was competing, like you got the option of like a direct deposit or like a paper check.
Okay.
But I mean, like,
I obviously know that
you get the check when they feel like paying it. Like,
oh.
I had years where like my account was like, yo, you like technically you earned that money already. You need to pay the taxes on it, and I'm like, but I don't have the check. Like you're getting into your Q4 payments, and they're like, hey man, you just won 300 grand. You got to pay the taxes on that, and you're like,
How long? What was the longest that they ever took to pay you?
Yeah.
Not that we're going to start going after CrossFit for not paying athletes. Simmer down, everybody.
No, and once again, like there's more to it. Like,
yeah,
they have to pay out 40 people on each side or 20 people on each side.
Well, you think you'd start with the largest chunk,
and then like they have to wait until drug testing comes back and all this stuff.
Okay.
And I remember it was my last year that I competed, so 2020, and I knew I was moving back to Vermont and I was going to be a Vermont resident, like come 2021. And I was on the phone. I'm calling Rosa. I'm like, bro, wire me the money, please, now. Dude, he wired it in on like December, I think it was December 30th or December 31st. Because I was like, hey man, next year I'm going to be a Vermont resident and I got to pay 9% in income tax.
Ooh.
Please send me that money quickly. And he was like, yeah, I got you. All right, here you go.
Now wait, that's weird to me that it can be prize money, but it's calculated as income, like as earned income. That to me, not to, I don't want to get financial with it.
And then, but then it comes down to like certain states have different rules about it. So most states it's just regular, ordinary income. Like that's you did a task, you got paid for it. And then there's other states. I want to say, don't quote. I want to say it was like Vegas and California, where it's then you get hit with another tax because it's pinning. So it's
Vegas, that makes a lot of sense because of all the casinos.
Because that means
you have to pay the fucking.
Don't quote me. Don't quote me on what states it is, but then like it's basically like a luxury tax of like, oh, you won this money, so now you're paying an extra 6%.
Do you know where that's likely going to? That's likely going to the mafia.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Both of you guys know that.
Yeah, I don't need to know that. You can ask Leo that because he's in Las Vegas. He's the fittest man in Las Vegas for like.
Yeah, but Leo, no offense, he's not making Matt money, and he's not paying the mafia. He's just paying the public.
I remember like my first.
Matt's paying the mafia.
My first year competing, I needed to file income tax in 8 different states.
Oh,
it was chaos. My first year ever paying taxes because I realized I was like, oh, I can. Like I'm bouncing around to all these different competitions, you know, like couple grand here, couple grand there.
Oh,
and like no sponsors, like I was unknown at the time. So no sponsors wanted to give me like an annual payment. So I was like, fine, load it up on competitions. Like if I compete and I win, I get an incentive. And so basically like if I didn't compete, I didn't get paid.
Yeah.
And so I just hit every fucking competition I could find. And then, you know, I got introduced to the nice world of taxes. And yeah, I had to file. I think it was eight states. It was
Okay,
brutal.
so full
That got a taste
transparency,
of Uncle
right?
Sam's weenie.
So like, yeah, full
Bent him
transparency.
over for all that tax.
Like, I know like you get to pay out 300K for winning the games, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you were in Tennessee, because I was a resident of Tennessee, I didn't have to pay any income taxes. It was nice. And then all of a sudden, I got out of the army and was here, and I'm paying 25 grand in taxes a year, and I'm like, what the fuck happened to me? Like, why is this happening to me? And I turned to my neighbor down the street. He's like, yeah, that's normal here. And I'm like, fuck Colorado. Like, it's bad.
Well, when
But
are both of you guys going to up and move to Texas? I know Ken
dude,
wants
So
to. Matt,
Vermont's 8.9%
Mhm.
income tax, I think.
that's on par with Colorado.
I believe Connecticut's 16.
Yeah, I mean that's why I moved to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Was like I started working with a new accountant, or I was just having conversations with a new accountant, and he was like, hey, like, just curious, why do you live in Vermont? I was like, I don't know, grew up here, I like it here, like, this is where my family is, friends are here. And he was like, I'll give
You can
you
visit them.
I'll give you nine reasons why to get the fuck out.
Well,
And I literally walked into the basement and walked up to Sam. I was like, hey, Sammy, how do you feel about moving? She was like, where to?
where?
And I listed the 6 tax-free states, and she was like, all right, let's do it.
Dude, what is so like the 300K that you get from the games? What would you the first time you won the games? What did you walk away with? After taxes, just taxes. I'm gonna take a guess. I'm gonna go with two.
Taxes?
I'm gonna go with 205. I think 205.
I was calling 234.
I mean, so one sec. So
Well,
37,
if he's going at 10, if he's going at 9%, if we're just talking income taxes.
But he had to pay 8 states.
So I mean,
eight
I mean,
states.
if you're paying 37%, 37% federal, 9% state.
Oh, fuck.
So I mean, off 300, you're walking home with 162.
I knew it. I was gonna say 100 something. I was like, that's being really aggressive.
And that's like where we were talking about earlier. Like, and now, like, what we're talking about, like, with these guys that are making 100 million a year and they're spending like they make 100 million, but it's like, no, you're taking home 40, because you're paying state tax, federal tax. Now if you're playing, you're winning money in every state you play in. Now you're having to pay their state tax everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And
Conor
then
McGregor's not making that much money.
Yeah.
You have an agent, a manager, like, and then you have like a
lawyer.
PR for like if you're paying a percentage to every person, it adds up very quickly.
And then if you have those people in your clique that are on your payroll and you're trying to pay them somewhat handsomely for whatever job you get, that shit's got to go fast.
Yeah. And so, like, I remember I had a friend that, you know, he's incredible actor, and like, and I remember him saying, he was like, yeah, you know, however many years ago he was like, yeah, I had nothing. And he was like, you know, I booked my first big movie, got a great paycheck, all this stuff. And then he's like, I started spending money. He goes, I go to the car dealership, and he goes, I bought a Cadillac. Then he goes, you know what, it would be wrong of me not to buy a Cadillac for everyone that helped me get here.
What the fuck?
And so, you know, he, you know, buy one for his parents, one for his siblings, one for like whoever it is. And then pay taxes. Now you're living in California. You have another 13% on top of that. You have 10% to a manager, 10% to an agent, like all these different things.
Hey, somebody get me another gig.
Yeah.
It dwindles quickly.
Jesus.
And God forbid you buy luxuries that are liabilities and not assets.
Yeah, not houses.
And like,
I was about to say, I'll buy you a house, mom, and siblings, and I'm not buying you a car.
I mean, like when we first moved back to Vermont, like I looked at how much I spent in a year, and I was like, holy shit, like this is a lot.
Simmer down,
and then
buck.
but then I look at it, and it's like, oh, I did improvements to my own house that like skyrocketed the value. I bought 3 income properties. I bought, you know, equipment for, you know, business expense, like all this. I'm like, oh, I spent like a couple grand total on shit for myself. Yeah, and that's it. Like everything else, it's like if it's not a business write-off, or if it's not an appreciating asset or something that generates income, I'm not doing it.
That new video that surfaces all the time from I think it's like Schitt's Creek or whatever, where she's like, "Yeah, Dad, it was a
Yeah.
write-off." He's like,
Yeah.
"A write-off?
A write-off?
Yeah.
Just write it off, Dad.
Yeah.
The government deals with it."
It's like Ozark when Marty goes, "The fuck you will," like the
Yeah.
fuck you will. It's like all they're like
Nice
all this
favorite
cash.
line.
It's like all this cash in the wall, Dad. Why can't he spend it? He's like, "The fuck you will." That's cartel
Yeah.
money. We have to pay taxes on all that shit to the cartel. Like,
So we were talking about non-income states, and I don't know if you heard me. Do you have? I heard murmurs, but I also know you have some buddies down here who I also want to talk about in a second. But are you any plans to look at Texas? Any properties you're looking at?
So we were still splitting our time. So when we moved back, we were splitting our time 50, like 6 months in a day in Tennessee, and then do summers up in Vermont.
Uh-huh.
And once I was done competing, it was like, okay, we have our place in Vermont. Let's keep splitting our time between somewhere else. And we did it for 1 year. We had a place just outside Nashville, and after that first year, where I'm keeping track of every day, and it's like coming down to like I'm intentionally booking flights in the afternoon when I'm leaving Vermont, and I'm intentionally flying back into Vermont first thing in the morning. So you're spending the majority of that day in Vermont, and like,
Oh, wow.
I'm keeping track of it to the
ooh,
T, so that if I ever get audited, it's only a matter of time before I do. There's no question. I'm like, nope, here's all my travel dates. Here's all the records. Like, I'm staying legal. And it was after 1 year doing that, Sammy was finally like, hey, I'll live in Texas, I'll live in Nashville, I'll live in Vermont, I'll live wherever you want, but we have to pick one place.
yeah.
And so like our place here, it's like our dream setup. We're like,
Okay.
nope, I'm good here. So sent out Q2 tax payments yesterday, and
Fuck.
wrote that one to the state of Vermont, and it was like, oh,
Damn.
Dude.
but this is where our friends are. Our house, our compound here is just like, it was the dream opportunity came up, and we're like, yep, snag it. And
Okay.
so it's paying that tax to live where I want, to be around who I want. I wake up, the scenery, it's like, yep, this is worth it to me.
Yeah.
But it was a real conversation of like,
Yeah.
at what point of income, if I'm paying 9% of all my income, at what point is it justifiable to go down to
Pick up and
Austin or
That's-
be in Nashville or something like
Yeah.
that?
That's what I'm happy about, because now I like disability from the army and everything, and like it's 100%, so I don't have to pay any property taxes. And I'm like, thank God, because I just
right.
I just got back
Yeah,
paid.
Matt, just go ahead and join the army.
Just,
It's
no,
not
don't
too
do that.
late.
I got back paid for the taxes I paid in Kansas from like last July to now. It was to the tune of like $3,600, and I was like, oh, thank God, I got that money back. And then when I sell the house, hopefully in July, August, I can build a house that we're trying to build with the land that I've already bought here, and build my own little thing and have my own little gym there and all that. But yeah, dude, fucking being an adult is hard. Fuck this.
Dude, all the time. Like, every time I pull a debit card out of my wallet, I'm like, do I need that? Like, is somebody gonna check on this? Like, am I allowed to do this?
Yeah.
Like, I remember
That was like me when I got my second credit card. I was like, I'm getting this credit card specifically for the points and returns, and I was like, am I allowed to do this? Is this the smart thing to do? Can somebody tell me?
Probably not
I need an
smart.
adult.
yeah, like paying property taxes, paying utility bills and shit. I'm like,
Dude.
who's allowing me to do this?
Yeah, like
It doesn't seem responsible.
I also look around a lot of society, and like I live in an apartment complex with a bunch of like probably college kids from UTSA, and I kind of look at the idea of, should there be a chaperone for some people? Like at a certain age, should you still have a chaperone?
Perhaps? I think I was 28 or 29 when I bought my first house, and even then, like, you go to hang a picture and like you're about to put a nail in the wall, and then I was like, I'm like, am I allowed to do this? Like, I'm like, oh
Should
man,
I
I'm not
use a
gonna get my
thumbtack or should I use this
I'm like,
nail?
I'm like, I'm not gonna get my security deposit back. And then you're like, wait, I own this fucking place. Sick. All right.
Dude, there's command strips everywhere. I don't put holes in anything ever. Like, no, I don't fucking do that. But
Oh, God.
if you could give one piece of advice to like all the guys, dude, I'll speak to like more specific. Leo Franco, dude went from 20th at West Coast last year to 10th this year at Granite Games. This dude is like, I'm gonna say it, Leo. He's in love with you. So, but like, if you had any
He
piece
very
of
much has your ideology.
yeah, he does have your ideologies, but like, if you could give any advice to someone that's in the CrossFit space and trying to like make something of it, what would you give them?
Advice for like on the competition floor,
The
Like
comp-
he's
training, or
he's on
advice
the
for life?
bubble.
He's
He's
on
on
the
the bubble
bubble.
of like almost getting in, and he'll
So, I
make
mean,
it
like,
there regardless. I think, but just
like when it comes to training, I mean, there's so many different aspects, but one, technique. Like, you get that technique hammered in so you move efficiently, and you that's how you outlast everyone. Like, if you move well, you're spending less points for every rep. You're spending less points of energy, so you can it makes you last longer in the event. Like, you can keep up that pace for longer. It keeps your body healthier for longevity, so you're not beating up on yourself. And then it makes your competition less stressful, because then you're not getting no reps like half the time, where you're having to like pay attention. You can focus that mental energy onto giving effort and not worried about like having to walk through every single rep, and then then dealing with the frustration of getting like no reps. So like what I'm always telling younger competitors is, like, before that movement is ingrained into you, take the time, take the couple months a year where you're not pinning your rev limiter all the way down. And it's like, move lightweight. You don't need to max out all the time. Work on technique, work on efficiency. And it's not the shit people want to hear. That's not,
no.
Everyone wants to lift the heavy weights. And it's like, when I was an Olympic weightlifter, like, that's all I did: snatch, clean and jerk. That's it. I would max out maybe 3 times in a year. Most years was you max out twice.
Yeah.
And then you walk into a CrossFit gym, and it's like, you see how often people are working up to a heavy single. And it's like, please God, no, don't do that. Like,
tell me this is the first time in 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you don't, very rarely is that the solution for somebody's problem. There are cases of lifters that just don't know how to move their body with heavyweight. They move well, but then something gets pulled out of alignment, or they change their movement when it comes to heavy. So yes, moving, like, there is the rare time that loading up a bar and practicing moving heavy weight is needed. But yeah, and then like, volume's not the answer. Like, if you can't answer the questions of why am I doing this before starting a workout, what is the intended goal? What is the intended stimulus? What am I looking to improve on before every single fucking workout? Don't do it. If you're just doing it for the sake of spiking your heart rate up and just getting reps in, it's like, your time's probably better spent somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look at that training
did that
program and understanding that
like,
it's a part of the training program, but it might not be the benefit for the day or the week.
Exactly. And like, so I did that when I was training. I made sure I could answer that. And like, that came from Henshaw, of like, every track workout before we would kick off, he would be like, all right, this is the intent. This is what we're looking for. This is what I want you to improve on. This is what I want you to pay attention to. These are your desired splits. Here's the modifications you need for whatever it is. And I was like, oh, why am I only doing this for the track workouts? Like, I should be applying this to everything. Like,
yeah.
And if you can't answer the question, why am I doing this? Well, then why are you doing it? And it's like, your body only has so many reps in it. Like, it's, I look at it like a mileage on a car, like, no, like, for me, like, competing, I was like, no, I want to have a nice, healthy, long career. I'm limited on how much pounding I can put my body through. And one of my goals of competing was like, I want to end my career without any lifelong injuries. Like, I don't want to be limping around my yard playing soccer with the kids. I don't want to have back pain every morning when I wake up. And so I took that into account, not only my recovery, but then my training as well.
Hurry up and have kids, Matt.
Oh, jeez, leave him alone. Let me ask you real quick. As it pertains to running, I know I bought one. I talked to Ken about it. Did you in your career ever use like Whoop and data trackers and all that kind of stuff?
No, no,
No?
Shit.
no. I wore Whoop for a week, just to see if I could. And like at the time, I couldn't wear a watch. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't. I wasn't used to having anything on my wrist. And yeah, I wore Whoop shortly. But I just had such a bad experience early on in my career with like data tracking,
Mm-hmm.
and it was what's the name? Inside Tracker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the one where they'll draw blood and then they take a sweat
Yeah.
panel and all that stuff? So so I was working with Bergeron at the time, and he had Inside Tracker come in for all his athletes and to just do some analysis. Like, it's good information.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I was like, nope, I don't want to see the data.
Yeah,
And I was like, I believe I'm in great shape, and like I don't want anything convince me otherwise. And so he said, no, I want you to do it. He's like, send me the link to the results. You don't need to look at them, and if there's anything you can improve on, I'll tell you. So it was basically gonna be like if he was like, hey, eat fish once a week, like, cool, all right, good. Anyways, got the results, sent them to him, and then obviously, like, a month or two later, curiosity gets the better of me. and I click the link, and I start scrolling down, and the first graph is testosterone, and it had like,
oh shit,
it's just a graph, and it's like has the bar for like the low limit for normal and the high limit for normal, and my fucking dot was like way down here, like way below the low, and I see that, and I go, fuck, and I close a laptop, and then for the next 2-3 months, every time I'm a little bit tired, I'm like, yeah, it's low testosterone, like I'm always tired. Every time I was sore, I would tell him, I'm like, yeah, man, you're sore because you don't recover. You have low testosterone, like all these things. And then I just kept, it was just like the placebo effect of like, I was told I have low testosterone. Now I feel like shit and I'm tired all the time. And I remember, went competed at the games, didn't have the results I wanted. And then it was not long after, and I mentioned something in front of my mom about me having low testosterone. And so my mom's a family physician. She knows all this.
Yeah.
And she just goes, I'm sorry, what did you say? And I was like, I have low testosterone. And she was like, no, you don't. She's like, look at you. She was like, you're a ball of muscle and you're hairy everywhere. Like, you don't have low testosterone. And I was like, no, I'll show you. And I pulled up the email, and I go in, and that graph was an example.
Yeah.
That wasn't my result.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Matt,
and so then I click on the link for my results, and my testosterone is like off the charts. And she was like, yeah, you dipshit. Like,
Jesus. That's what Jared Enderton, you know him. I go over to his place all the time. We train. He was my weightlifting coach that got me from snatching 155 pounds, like 295, and I was like ecstatic as fuck. I was like, oh, thank God.
Every fucking podcast.
No, like he did, like legitimately, he did the same thing that Matt was talking about. I think it was one point we were in Pandora's box when he had it. This motherfucker had me with a PVC pipe and empty barbell for like a month, like 3 hours a day. I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
So the first time Jared made the games, I think our lockers were like right next to each other.
Yeah,
like,
we talked to him about this like last week.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's a group. It's like Fikowski, Valner, myself, a couple other guys, and we all just pulled our chairs together in the locker in the like athlete lounge area. And Jared came up and he's like, hey man, I'm Jared. Nice to meet you. I was like, yeah, I know who you are. And he was like, man, you probably don't remember this, but he's like, we actually competed against each other in weightlifting. And I was like, you think I don't remember this? I'm like, you fucking snatched my clean and jerk. Yes, of course I remember you. Like, you kicked my ass, dude.
But yeah, he was saying if I had a whoop, because he wears a whoop now, he's like, if I had this when I was training for the games, I never would have made it.
Mm.
He's like,
What?
yeah.
So the
Yeah, so
was
my only thing is just like I think having that information is useful in certain aspects. Like
yes.
when I was training to compete, like, it sounds shitty. I didn't give a fuck about my health. I don't care about if I'm healthy. I was training to compete and perform and to win. That's what I cared about.
Yeah.
I'm not like being unhealthy, but like if I get up,
you're centered
if I
on
get
one
up,
goal and you don't need anything to distract you from it.
yeah. And if I'm getting up and I feel fantastic, well, then I'm going to go train how I feel. But if something's telling me like, oh no, you only got 30 minutes of REM sleep, like you got no recovery last night. Well, no, I don't care. I feel good. So I'm going to go train like I feel.
Yeah.
Now that I'm off the competition floor, like now I'm more interested in this stuff, like, because I actually have an interest in being healthy instead of just a high performer. So, I've started playing with that stuff. The one that I've really enjoyed is Levels, and it's a glucose monitor.
Yeah, the CGM.
Yeah. And that made me realize, like, oh my God, like, I'm lucky I got out of my competition career, like, without getting diabetes. Like, I lived off carbs, and like, you do an intense workout, you spike your glucose. Worst thing to do with spike glucose is then sit down and then drinking or eating sugar. And I'm like, that's what I did 3 times a day for 6 years. I would do a super intense workout, slug down a carb shake, and then sit down for 30 minutes.
Jesus.
And so I was like, yes,
that's
okay.
Very interesting take.
That's what, like the biggest thing that I did was get that 8 Sleep cooling mattress. Motherfuck, dude. That thing, oh God, that thing changed my life. Dude.
Game changer, right?
I swear to God, like, I did it for the first week and like did all the priming stuff for it, and it was cool. And then once it did that auto calibration thing the next week, oh my God.
So when I got one, like, you could set your watch to it every night at 2 a.m. I would get up to pee, like, every night, and then got the cooling pad, and like, I kept track of it for the first 7 days. It was the first time I had slept through the night completely in 5 or 6 years, and I did it for a week straight, and I was like, what is happening? And I was talking, I forget what his role was, if he was the CEO or owner or the inventor or whatever, and he was like, he's like, you didn't have to pee. He was like, your body temperature, your core temperature is so high because you train so much, and then you sauna on top of it. He's like, so your core temperature never comes down, and when you have a high temp, like, you sleep light. And so he's like, basically, this cooling pad, you have radiant cooling underneath you, so it brings down your temperature, and now you can sleep through the night.
I need to get me one of those.
You do.
I can feel the way I go to bed is like red hot.
Yeah. Sammy and I both are like, we will never go without one of these again.
Nope.
Like, and I don't have a partnership with
8 Sleep.
8 Sleep or
8 Sleep. 8 Sleep.
Yeah, 8 Sleep. And it's just like, I'm like, oh, this is the craziest, best thing ever. I'm never going without it. Yeah, it's incredible.
I mean, I will say the only reason why I asked was because I got a Garmin recently, because Ken had put me onto it a little bit, and so did my other friend. And I know that I think you had wore one. I thought I saw you wearing one at one point while you were doing running. So having the baby coming up, I kind of like looked at all of this stuff, and I was like, man, I don't look at the sleep. I'm not gonna sleep. So what do I need to know the recovery? I don't need to know the REM sleep. I don't need to know all this shit. So I was just gonna ask you, like, Garmin wise, if you had one and if you enjoyed it.
So the best watch I had used for years was actually a Nike watch, and I think they partnered up with TomTom. Like, remember TomTom GPS?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is a watch, like, they haven't made this watch in years, but it was this brick of a watch, and it did one thing, and it did it the best. And the screen was just your total time, and then the bottom part was your lap time. It was just big block letters. And you would slap it, and it would hit a new lap, and it would pause the screen for 5 seconds, light it up. And so when you're doing running intervals, which is like all the type of running I do, you cross the line, and without even looking, you slap it, and then on the next forward swing, you check it, and then just keep going.
Wow, that's good.
Jesus.
And they made it for like a year. I got as many of them as I could because I knew they stopped selling them. And yeah, so now some of my athletes actually use them. But yeah, then I got a Garmin. Someone actually asked me. It's like a Garmin 235 something, and it was literally just like the cheapest Garmin because I use none of the features that it offers. Yeah. I'm like, I want my total time and my lap time. That's it. And then the Garmin I have now is like a big one. It's like
my buddy has the like Phoenix 7 Delta something for like the EOD guys. They give them to him, and they also give them to like the TAC-Ps and all.
Yeah, so I have I want to say it's the
Phoenix 6 Sapphire version. Yeah.
Some of them have like flashlights, and they got fucking all the GPS shit. They'll tell you everywhere you are in the world.
Yeah. Like you can pull it up like full maps on it. It has like a skydiving computer. It has night vision mode.
There's one for like boating. It tells you how fast you're boating, how deep the water is beneath you.
That's the one that I used on deployment. My first deployment to Afghanistan. The thing changed my life.
I literally want it. I'm like, I want to know what day of the week it is and what time it is. And
now I'll sell you my fucking Batman watch that I've had since I was 5.
Dude.
Yeah, I mean the only reason I have that Garmin Tactics was they have them on the Rogue website, and so I just used some of my Rogue allowance to. I was like, oh, that's a nice watch. I'll grab that.
That's nice. I want a Rogue allowance. Fuck me.
You just need to win the CrossFit Games 5 times afterwards.
If I even came to like 40th place at the games, I would be ecstatic. I'd be like, "Holy shit, this changed my life. I'm never doing it again. This is miserable."
Hey, let me mention something. The Black Rifle Coffee dudes. I know you're friends with like Matt Best and them. When can we see you on another music video?
Yeah.
When are you gonna go hang out with those boys? And how did you get to be friends with them?
That's actually a good question.
Even Matt, I listened to Drinking Bros podcast. I know you were on there a long time ago, but Matt, every once in a while, he's mentioned you, and so have those dudes. So I didn't know how that story came to be.
You know, I got to know like Matt, Evan, Eli, JT. You know, I got to know them a little bit over the years. Fuck, I don't even know how I met them.
Instagram.
No, it was through a mutual contact.
Was it like those USO tours or some shit?
No.
Military guys?
It may have been through Killcliff.
Oh,
something to do with Killcliff, maybe.
Because I know the guy who used to do sports science for ESPN, he owns that, and he does a lot of work with them.
Yeah, and I remember the first time I met them all, and like I was a fan of Matt Best, you know, like all his YouTube videos, all their content, their shit was hilarious. And yeah, so you know, most times we're down in Texas or something, we'll try to overlap with them. You know, we'll just crash at Matt's house for a couple days, and you know, just nothing crazy, just shoot the shit for a couple days. And
he literally has the greatest collection of guns I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, like
dude, last time I was there, dude, he gave away so many of them. He was like, I shoot the same 3 guns over and over. So he's like, emptied them out, and
probably the scar and shit that he has.
Oh man,
Jeez.
Coming from the dude on our screen that has a Rhino metal safe, I think, right? That ginormous one. What do you have packed in there? What's your favorite?
It is
piece
overflowing.
Oh,
like,
jeez.
I bought one the other day. I bought one that I wanted for a long time, a Chris Vector, and
Jesus.
And I'm standing at the gun safe door, and I'm like trying to fit it in a shelf here, fit it in a shelf there. And I was like, there's nowhere to put it. I literally had to
overpack sock drawer.
I had to unfold the stock, pull out I have a swing out gun rack in it, and I had to lay it on the floor underneath the swing out gun rack. And I was like, all right, I guess that's where that's living for the time being.
Jesus Christ.
Are you still shooting around that cannon you got?
Oh yeah, you don't get rid of something like that.
No, I wouldn't. I would never get rid of it. When was the last time you shot it?
Yeah.
Not too long ago. I mean, that's one of the ones that, like, if you don't have time to go to the gun range, and, you know, like somebody comes over, you want to show them all the fun shit. So I have one of those cannons. Like, I have the spear attachment, the grappling hook attachment. Like,
fucking Batman.
They just came out with a new tube that, like, you can launch golf balls. I mean, it's wild.
That's
like,
I've
shot like aerosol cans out of it.
What the fuck?
Like you light your steel target on fire and shoot a can of spray paint. It's like a little mini mushroom cloud.
Oh my god,
dude!
It's fun.
You're just a big kid, doing a kid with resources, man. That's awesome.
Do you shoot like a blank round through the cannon? Is that what projects it? Okay.
Yeah. So it was years ago. CrossFit HQ was coming out to do like a day of training with me, and they came out on my rest day. So I was like, hey, I'm not training. So I was like, let's just go to the gun range.
Great
scheduling
on their part.
And so I called my, well, I mean, it's partly me because I was like, I don't want to show all my competitors what I'm doing in training. So I was like, we're going to the gun range all day. So I called my buddy that owns a gun store, and I was like, hey, can you send me something fun? And he was like, yeah, here you go. And he's like, I got the perfect thing for it. And he sent me out a cannon. And so then basically my entire segment in the day of training video was basically like a promotion for cannon. Like, I'm just shooting this thing. It's hilarious the whole time.
I remember watching this.
Jesus
the owner,
Christ.
He is smiling ear to ear like a little kid.
The owner of X Products, the people that make the cannon, hit me up, and they're like, yo, he was like, I own X Products. I'm a huge fan. My girlfriend owns a CrossFit gym. Like, let's hang out. And now he's an awesome friend. Like, we go on trips all the time together.
Dude, that's cool.
So what do you attach that to? Because it's an upper receiver, right?
Yeah, you just pin it onto an AR lower and then let it rip.
Dude, that's fucking awesome.
That might be one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
It is so much fun.
And it shoots them full, right?
Oh yeah, you'll launch a full soda can. Like I shot a lacrosse ball from my parking lot, and I mean, I found it down on my dirt bike track, like 200, 300 yards away.
What the fuck?
If you ever get a dog, that dog is going to be the happiest animal in the world.
Dude, I actually have a video of my buddy. He's like, his dog will just play fetch all day if he will, and he just, like, you can just pick up the tennis ball right off the ground in the barrel, and poof, it'll launch that tennis ball a 100 yards.
He has like a P320. He's got like a thumper, but it's a cannon.
Yeah,
with a lacrosse ball.
Dude, that dog's gonna look at you and go, "Yeah, nah, bro, that's not in my contract. I can't do that shit."
The Army should get
in the video, dude. It was awesome. I was like, "Hey, man, if your dog like isn't scared of the noise, like, this is going to be the best thing in the world for you." And his dog didn't skip a beat, just sprinting 200 yards back and forth nonstop.
Jesus Christ, man!
Hey, are you watching the Celtics game tonight?
No.
Oh, I am. They're about to get that ass pushed in.
I don't have cable.
Dude, Sling TV.
Can't watch the game.
Sling TV.
During all the semifinals, O'Keefe made sure to find the Celtics game, and if it's on, I'll watch it. But if, like, for me,
I will
I'm like,
make a point tonight to. I might go to my neighbor.
Is tonight game 7?
Yep. No, game 6.
Game 6. Okay.
So Boston had it tied 2-2
going into Golden State.
They could have had a 3-1 lead. So they won in Golden State, then lost in Golden State, came home and won again, and then the fourth game they took a giant steamy shit.
They couldn't hit anything from 3. They went 2 for 26 from 3. 2 for 26 from 3. Yeah, it was bad.
It's so bad.
I mean, that's rough. I mean, I can't say shit. I can't make any. But
they tied, and then they went to Golden State the other night, and they just let Golden State just kicked their dicks in.
Yeah.
And granted, they only lost, I think, by 10.
Yeah, but Klay Thompson. But
Yeah.
at the post-game interview, Klay Thompson said, "I've never been more excited to go to Boston," and I'm like, "This man's gonna drop 50."
I promise you, if he
I
steps
saw
out
that
of line, somebody from Boston will set that motherfucker straight. And I can't wait because Draymond Green is going to foul out again because he's a piece of shit.
Jesus
Right?
Christ!
There's nobody happier to see Jason Tatum's nuts on the floor other than that man, because all he wants to do is kick some other player in the nuts.
Why is
it? Fucking does. He does that every goddamn year.
It only happened 3 times.
One of them was LeBron's, and you know that pair is insured.
Those are some big balls.
He's done it, I think, to Jimmy Butler, and he's done it to somebody on the Celtics.
And he did it to a guy in Thunder, and on the Thunder too. It was I can't remember his name. Just he's a washout now, but yeah,
absolute trash. I don't think the city of Boston lets them lose.
Dude, we've been doing this for an hour and 45 minutes. We gotta let him go.
I gotta say one last thing. Okay, and this is because I don't. Since starting this podcast, I think one of the people that gave us the best advice was Jim Hensel. Because like we told him at some point we want to talk to Rich, but he's like, hey, when you talk to like Rich, don't ogle over things and whatnot. But with you, Matt, I do want to say, my wife and I, we got to meet you with a bunch of friends at Rogue Invitational. Hopefully you come back down this upcoming year. Maybe we'll get to see you.
Oh yeah, I'll be there.
Sweet. But I will say that was one of the moments that I really got a good look and a little behind the scenes look, but very upfront of like, I see the YouTube videos, I see like your success, obviously. And you've always talked about, hey, like you guys don't get to see the stuff behind the scenes. So to see you come to the gym that we got to do a workout with you at, experience you, I still have the picture that you took of like the most awkward face I think I've ever made in my life while I was doing a bend over row. And, you were absolute class act, man. And just being able to see you, like you come out with a team, you come out with people, and I got to see like the business side of like how this stuff works after the athletes. And it wasn't one of those like, don't meet your heroes because it ruined it or whatever, but it gave me so much more insight to maybe like kind of production of things. And like we do a podcast now, so it's like a little bit more behind the scenes, like how you work.
Yeah.
But also like seeing that you went from being the top athlete to almost immediately turning that success into being one of the top business aspects of the sport. And it is the hard work pays off, but it's also the mentality that you're able to just shift into the, not behind the scenes, but like now you're in the production of things almost.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
gotta say, man, that stuff it's hard, but being a fan and meeting you and then seeing a completely different side, right? Just seeing the cameras in your face and all that stuff. That was the best in-person look that I've ever seen of like behind the scenes and understanding there's a different side to all.
Yeah,
this.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate hearing that. I mean, it's been a transition, and you know, the same thing as always. Like, nobody's posting about the bad experiences or the failures or anything like that. Like yeah, you know, life's great, but that doesn't mean there aren't hard times or there haven't been, you know, some business ventures where like you get screwed over and it's like, man, it's the exact same as when I was competing. Of like an event came out that I wasn't anticipating, I didn't train for. It's the same in this business of like someone does something that you weren't anticipating and you're like, you can't imagine yourself doing it. And so when you see it happen, you're like, oh man, I should have seen that coming. And it's like, okay, like it's done, it happened. All right, let's apply that life lesson forward and move and use it to our advantage. Like we know going into our best next business negotiation, next deal, next whatever it is. And it's like, all right, now I'm aware that is a thing. But yeah, I mean, I try to keep plugging away and try to keep, you know, showing up where I can be of use.
Yeah. I mean, if you're ever in Texas, if you're ever in Colorado, I'm sure Ken would love to see you. If you ever want to go on military base, let one of us know. We'll get you on.
Walk you right on there.
Hell yeah.
Dude, yeah, my last thing, since Steve got last thing, is I want to just say, I've told you before, I appreciate what you've done for me. You know, after you won the games in, was it 20 2021. I think it's 2021.
2020.
2020. Yeah,
But yeah, that was my last season.
yeah, my battalion commander had reached out to you and talked to me because I was going through like a bunch of bullshit, like so many bad things, and then
Yeah.
like that really helped me like kind of snap out of it a little bit. I really appreciate it, and the shoes
Hell yeah.
and all that stuff. That dude, that was great. I try not to ask too much of you because you're a busy person like I am. If I know that I'm this busy doing my 18,000 jobs, I know you're busy as fuck. Way
Yeah,
more
and I mean
busy.
it's kind of a bummer, but it comes with the territory of like, if a text comes through and it's like I'm the king of like I'm in the middle of doing something, I see a text, and then I'm like, I'll answer that in 5 minutes as soon as I'm done.
Mhm.
And then a month and a half goes by, and I'm like,
Good Jesus.
shit, sorry.
Yeah, you're fine, man. Yeah, but yeah,
Oh,
yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Yeah,
sorry. Sammy just popped in and she's like, hey, dinner's ready.
yeah.
Hi,
You're good.
Sammy.
Hi, Sammy. How you doing? But yeah, Jeff Evans wanted me to tell you he wants to still do that lift off. By the way,
No.
he's like, there you go, Jeff.
That's
There's
such
your.
the easiest question of the night. No way.
He was like a lift off at Rogue. He put it in the chat.
Well, the very, very, very last thing I want to ask, Matt, is we are partnering with Warrior Wad, which is a really good cause, and I think we can send this to you if you wouldn't mind. If we were to tag you just in an Instagram story, would you mind reposting it? Because they're doing a competition for a fundraiser with veterans.
No, I think we're already working with them.
Oh shoot!
Shit.
I believe so. Yeah.
Let me go to it. Let me do this real quick.
Because
I
I know
know
Jim's hosting it, and we're trying to get some
like
athletes
they have competitions all over, right?
Yeah, so it's an online competition fundraiser type deal where everybody's entry fees as teams go towards providing gym memberships for veterans, whether it's like the PTSD and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's guys getting out, and it just helps them pay for the membership to these guys so that they can start a healthy lifestyle. If you
Hell yeah.
are, that's terrific. But if not, that was the only thing I was going to ask. Is we're just trying to get it out to as many people as possible.
Yeah. No, that's easy. I mean, it's stuff like that. Like I've done work with like a kids foundation for kids that are, their parents are active military and deployed and stuff like that. So they're like it, and it was super, super powerful going there. And it's like some of these kids, both of their parents are deployed at the same time. And you're like, holy shit, so and so it's really cool. Like these kids that like they all get together because most of the time, if you're in school, like none of the other kids know what you're going through.
Yeah.
And I heard about that, and I was like, "Yep, sign me up. I'm coming out." And it was super cool. And so that's easy.
Well, we appreciate it, Matt. Thank you for coming on. Go enjoy whatever
dinner.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Not even fair. Yeah, take it easy, Matt.
All right, we'll
talk soon.
See you later, man.
Bye.
Recording stopped.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever happened